The opinions expressed on the radio program by the hosts, co-hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Genesis Radio, www.genesisradio.com, Genesis Radio's owners, management, or affiliates.
All right. Good evening, and welcome to the Empowerment Show. We're on GenesisRadio.com. My name is Kendall Stevenson. I am the host of the Empowerment Show. If you'd like to give us a call, that would be 888-304-4401. Sorry, my co-host is not here. She has some other business that she has to take care of. Now, we always start the show off with a moment of gratitude. So, my moment of gratitude is I'm very happy to be in this space because it gives me the opportunity to meet a lot of different type of people. I get to work with a lot of different type of people, so it's really a good thing. This evening, I have a young lady here, and her name is Claudette Williams. Now, she's kind of like a big time around here, and she really is a big thing, and she does a lot of things for the community. She is a veteran, and I think I'm gonna let her introduce herself and tell you what she does. Claudette, can you hear me?
I can sure hear you.
Okay, so tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay. As you said before, my name is Claudette Williams. I am currently an elected official in Mount Pocono on the council. I'm also a 30-year United States Army veteran and the creator of the Women Veterans Museum, which is the only one in the state of Pennsylvania, tri-state, and actually the only one in the country away from the Women Army Museum that is in Fort Lee. I am a mom, which is like my greatest accomplishment and my greatest blessings. And I love what I'm doing in the community. I love to help veterans and their family. As a matter of fact, I mean, I'm on my way back from DC today, and because we were there doing stuff for veterans and making our voice be heard. So
I know you were telling me that you had a meeting that you had to go to. That's why you couldn't meet me in person. And all the fellas here are very disappointed that you were not able to show up. I think they were looking forward to that. So you said a 30-year veteran.
yes.
Can you tell me where you're located as far as in the Pennsylvania? Where at is the museum located?
Our museum is located in Mount Pocono. We're 29 Sterling Road in Mount Pocono. And you can't miss us. You'll pass our buildings. And if you see this building with all those flags of the different branches of service, the United States Army flag and the Pennsylvania flag, that is us. It's a
Oh,
Women Veteran Museum and Military Family Services. So we do provide services for veterans and resources for veterans and their families.
okay. So what kind of resources do you provide for the families and for the veterans?
Correct.
What type of resources? What do you?
Resources such as if a veteran's in need of help with their benefits from the VA, we do provide that. If you're in need of health care, we do have those referrals. Homelessness, food insufficiency, anything that has to do with better mental health, um, any kind of counseling. Those are all some of the stuff that we do. We even help with veterans right now that are um, they're looking to gain their citizenship. We're helping family members of those veterans to do help them through the process.
A lot of veterans have gone through a lot of trauma. So, especially the women veterans, because nowadays they seem to be side by side by the average soldier. How do you feel about the women in the military?
I mean, can you repeat it again for me, please?
Well, lately there's been some talk about women in the military, about how maybe they should not serve in combat or in those type of roles. How do you feel about that?
I think a woman can serve in any role they choose to serve in. I'm
Hmm.
not sure why, because I've been on the battlefield. I know what it is to serve. I mean, we have done the same job as some of the men have done. I mean, the only difference is, I would say, when it comes to some, is that strength, that body strength. But we can do just the same work as the men can do. And so therefore I do not support that idea that women should not be in combat, or should not, for whatever reason, we're closing the doors on women. I mean, if we look back in history, we have always been the one that have been pushed back and been locked in behind the doors. If you look back, we have the Integration Act, which was 1948. Women have been servants since the 17th century. They weren't given the opportunity that they so much deserve, to prove themselves.
Well, Harriet Tubman was actually a soldier. She started out as a soldier. I mean, she was on the Confederate side, but she was a soldier. For me, I served in the military and I did my little bit of time, my little 8 years. And I wouldn't care if you were blue, black, purple, whatever. If you were there to, CYA and you were covering me, you were covering my sticks, you were my best buddy.
Yes. Hmm.
It doesn't matter to me, male or female. So, what inspired you to open the museum?
Um, I'd love to say, the museum was created because, of the same thing. People seeing your ID, or hearing, their first, instinct is, where did your husband serve? So I was at a
Hmm.
sergeant major reunion in Texas, and we were in the lobby of the hotel, and someone walked up to us and said, "Well, are you here for the reunion?" And we said yes, and he automatically think, because it was a sergeant major reunion, which is an E9, which is one of the highest rank of the enlisted chain, that we were the wives. So his response was, "Oh, so you all are the wives."
Yeah,
And I
highest
mean,
ranking non-commissioned officer.
right, exactly. It's not,
Mhm.
so I took that energy and that frustration that I felt, and I came back home and decided that, the story of women serving in the military need to be told.
Mhm.
And we need to show and educate the community and society on a whole what women have done in their contribution to the military, but also what they're still doing. And so this is how the museum came about, and that is exactly what we're doing.
Mhm. I tell you that in the time that I got an opportunity to spend at the museum, um, I got to talk to some of the women that were there, as you know. And one woman stood out to me, Kimmy.
Yes, the POW, prisoner of war.
Now, here it is. Here's a woman who was a prisoner of war. Okay. So she went through one hell of a lot of stuff. And when
Correct.
I was listening to her story, oh my God, going through the jungle with no shoes on, and she's running with the baby, and then the husband and a lot of her family members were gone. This is all during the Vietnam era. And she spent 10 years in a POW camp. And when I talked to her, I just thought that she was super amazing.
Yes. The resiliency that, women veterans have displayed, the strength that they have shown. I mean, it tells the story that we can withstand whatever comes our way. I mean, also in our museum, if you remember, there's a picture in our museum showing all these women from all different, races, all generational background, with their babies, and we're showing the picture that we can be that soldier, as well as be that mom, as well as being that wife, and we're doing it all.
Mm.
So, we're not going to let anything or a stigma standing our way.
I can go home and cook up the bacon and bring the money home too.
There you go.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So your children, are they plan on going into the military, or have you have any children that's in the military?
So I have, two girls, one boy. My son is a part of the reserve. He's a military police, and he's the only one. And yes, he's the only one that entered the military. My girls were not interested. They specialize in, who they will serve under what chief, commander in chief. So they have decided not to.
No, because they don't. I guess they don't particularly care for the person that's in the office at the moment.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, here's
And
going.
they felt also that their mom has sacrificed so much and has given so much, and, you know that you have to understand that when a person serves, in the military, their family serve too. So whatever we go through, those traumas, those withdrawals, the family do endure some of it, and they have to, um, be able to withstand all those things that come their way. And I think they've had their experience.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess I had my experiences, and none of my children. I have 5 children, and not one of them served any time in the military. My experience in the military it wasn't always that good. So, and I was listening to some of the other women that were there at the time, and they were talking about having difficulties just being black and having hair issues.
Yeah.
Did you?
I'm sorry.
Did you?
Can you repeat that?
I said I listened to some of the women that were there, the African American women that were there, and I heard some of their issues and some of their complaints with not just being black and a woman in the military, but they had to deal with a lot of hair issues.
Oh yes, yes. And I think sometimes we're tested. We're tested because of the color of our skin. We're tested because of our rank. Where I mean, it's not an easy road. I mean, from a woman of color and a sergeant major, there's a lot that we had to go through, and we face the music and drive on, but it's an experience. Some of the experiences we choose to forget, and some of the experiences, is what we keep in our mind, that keeps reminding ourselves how strong we are, and that we can overcome, and that we have made it, and we still doing the part about service, and it gives us that energy to continue to do what we're doing and to continue to serve our community.
How many soldiers have you dealt with that has PTSD?
I've
And
dealt with a lot of so
do you find
I've,
that to be a big problem? I'm sorry. Do you find that to be a big issue nowadays?
yes, I've dealt with a lot of soldier with PTSD, both male and female. I've had soldiers who um, have unfortunately not able to deal with it, that have decided to take their own lives um, because of their experience. I have soldiers that are currently dealing with it, and I am also now one of those sounding boards that I am on their speed dial. You call me if you need to talk. You call me at 2 o'clock in the morning. You call me at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you call me at 6 o'clock in the morning. If that's what you need, and if that's what's going to help you to get through the day. Our choices is one day at a time,
Hmm.
and we help each other as we go forward.
One day at a time, one step at a time, and that's how we move.
Yes.
That's how we move, one step at a time. I was dealing with some issues, and I'm glad you guys were around at the time because just being around you, it helped me out a lot. It really did, and I wanted to thank you for that.
Mhm. And
So,
we have, based on our experiences, what we have seen, um, it has created a bond sometimes between some of us, that is it's that bond, it's that lifeline that keeps us going, or just knowing that you have a comrade out there that you can call on, that really understand what you're going through or what you're experiencing, and so it makes it so much more better for us.
so let me ask you: this organization, the museum, how is it funded?
Last week I did a video outside of our museum, because with the winter being such a harsh winter in the last 2 months, all our flag posts came down. Our
Mm.
flags were on the ground, um, and we needed flagpoles. The museum is funded by donation. And if we get grants, then those are the things that help us to keep our doors open. Um, right now, our donation is very, very, very small, and that you know most of it I come out of my pocket on a monthly base. So we keep reaching out to individuals, help us to keep our doors open, as well as help us to continue to provide the services that we're providing to our veterans in our community. I mean, we have a relationship with also AARP CSEP program, and they help us with our volunteers. in the museum. So which kind of help us not to be able to have full-fledged salary-based individuals. So, but our museum is funded by simply donation and the men and women in our community and the VFWs and the
Claudette.
base, and that has been able to help us to pay that rent for that location that we're in.
Okay, we lost you for about 2 seconds there. Can you just fill that back in about paying the rent? Claudette, can you hear me? Claudette, can you hear me? Hello? Miss Claudette? Miss Williams?
We're frozen.
It's not frozen.
Probably happened because you got the phone.
Well, to the viewing audience, as you can see, we're having some small technical difficulties.
I know.
We'll probably
I
have her go
appreciate
out
that.
and come back in. She is on remote and she is in a car and she's moving. So just bear with us for a few seconds and we'll have her come right back on. In the meantime, I'm sitting here with my man Rudd, and over the weekend we had a fantastic time. I want to thank the DCMC for the event that was held at the Mardi Gras, and man, let me tell you that was a hell of an event, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think the people had a great time. They had a wonderful time. So I was really glad to take part in that. As as people know, I'm a photographer. So I think we're back with Miss Claudette, Miss Brown, Miss Claudette Williams.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Hello,
Yeah, we
how
were
are you?
frozen for a minute there.
Yeah. We could hear you and see you, but you couldn't hear us. So, but we're good. We're back to good now. Are you just wanted to ask you, are you I know you're not funded, but are you considered to be a nonprofit organization?
Yes, we are a 501c3 organization.
Mhm. So how can people, I don't know, donate?
People can donate to our museum by going to our website at the THE Women Veteran Museum.com. There is a button that says donate. They could donate to our museum that way. And they can also reach out to us. We will provide them with that tax donation letter that they could go ahead and claim that in their return, because we're a nonprofit.
And if they wanted to come visit you guys at the museum, what information would we need?
I'm sorry?
The information to go see you at the museum, the name of the museum, where it's located, the telephone number, the web page, just in case people want to check out your museum.
The museum, and if you also, another thing, if you want to send us a donation via check or whatever to the museum, you could send it, make it out to the Women Veterans Museum at 29 Sterling Road, Mount Pocono, 18344. That is our mailing address. That is the actual location of the museum. We're also on Facebook at From Boots to Heel. That is our Facebook page. We're also on Instagram at the same thing, From Boots to Heel, also for the museum. And once again, the website, www.thewomanveteranmuseum.com.
All right, yeah, that was good information. And like I said, we're very glad to have you in the community. We know that you do so much for the community, as you are a pillar for the community. So we like to give you our flowers now. Say thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that, and thank you so much for having me on and to share the story of the museum and these amazing women who have served our military.
Now let's get back to Miss Claudette Williams. So, did you always want to become a soldier?
I am not sure. We all, I entered the military when they had the commercial. They said that the commercial was join the military, see the world, and that was enticing. But it's also that you were, you think about what you can do. If you need an education, the military is also able to provide that for you. So there was a lot of enticement. But one of the things that I know for sure is once you join you get involved with the military, you join that military, and you started gaining rank, it gives you a sense of responsibility. It now becomes where it is not about you anymore, but it's about taking care of your soldiers. It's about country, and it started meaning so much more. And then before you know it, it's like it takes on a mind of its own. It's about service. It's about taking care of your fellow vets, and it's about the work that you are doing. And I think that's how it all came about for me because um, everyone wanted to be to the point where they're like at that 20-year mark, and then they could leave. And I got to that 20-year mark, and it was like I was not ready to leave. I felt like I was contributing something to the leadership of the military as well as the future leaders. And so therefore you just continue to give your time until you wake up one day and you find yourself as a part of the Wounded Warrior program, and you realize that you're taped, glued, and stapled together. And then it's when you have to make those decisions and said, okay, I think it's about enough. And, it's time for you to retire.
Well, after a few years, it was time for me to retire. The one thing I did get from the military is that I like the clean life. I like the clean living. That was one thing that I really enjoyed about the military. You know, you had to be clean. Everything spick and span, as they would say, and that was a good thing for me,
Yes.
especially coming from where I came from. So where I came from wasn't so clean. So, and I didn't get into the military by saying, "Hey, I want to join." I went through another avenue through the judicial system, and that's
And the
how I
rules
ended
and the regulations, that are in place, and it helps you for self-discipline. It teaches
up.
you leadership. It's so much you take away from it.
But there are a lot of things that I did take away from it. I mean, even on the job, they would call me Sarge.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed some things about it. But again, so where you from?
Oh,
Because we
okay.
hear the accent.
Oh, this beautiful, beautiful accent is from the island of Jamaica. I love to
Okay.
say.
So you
So
were born and
from
raised
the
in Jamaica. Where you from in Jamaica?
I am from Saint Anne. Well, my dad is from Saint Anne. My dad is from Saint Mary, and my mom is from Saint Anne. So I love to say that I'm from the border
Okay.
of both parishes. But yes, I am, and I'm very proud of my heritage. I'm very proud of my background, and that culture,
Mhm.
that is also a part of my foundation.
There you go. I can't say no more. I live on heritage
Yes.
and my ancestry. I gotta make my ancestors proud. I try hard to do that. I'm glad to see that you do that as well. It's a great thing. So in Jamaica, were you raised in Jamaica?
I'm
And when
sorry.
did you come to the United States? Let's try that one.
Okay, as a little girl, I'm not gonna tell you when, because then I'm gonna tell my age, and I'm very protective. I'm just kidding. But as a young girl, I went to school in Brooklyn, New York. I graduated from Tilden High School, and so yeah, I grew up
Children.
pretty much
Right
in
on.
Brooklyn, in East Flatbush area, on 57 and Church, between
All
Church
right.
and Linden.
And so what was life like in Brooklyn? That had to be so much different than living in Jamaica. What was life
Of
like in Brooklyn?
course, it was so much. It was so different. But the good thing about it is, where there is family, there's also home is where the family is.
Hmm.
So when my mom first left the island, left Jamaica, we were left behind, and so when we were reunited with her a little bit more than 3 years later, I mean, it was home for us because we were with our mom and everything. But in the island, it's so much as if you're like that free spirit,
Hmm.
everything. Yeah, that freedom, that you were living with nature, the beach, the food, everything was just simple. And
Hmm.
then, you find yourself one day as a teenager, and you're in New York, Brooklyn, New York, and then there's that winter and that snowfall. And I remember my sister was 9, and she got lost in the snow coming home from school. or from till then over to 57. So it's just completely different. But you adapt. You adapt because at the end of the day, you were not alone. You had your family with you. You had your mom that worked very hard to make sure that you have everything that you need. And so but it's a completely different life and change. And I now go back to Jamaica. I'm marching as much as I possibly can, and I take my children back to introduce them to the culture and everything else.
Was
You
it a
know,
big
to make
culture
sure
shock when you came
they
here?
get an idea of what life was like for me, and enjoy the beauty of it.
Yeah. Was that a big culture shock coming here when you came here?
No, because I think I was young. I was very young, so I think it wasn't a culture shock. I think the one thing I can say is more the weather was the shock piece of it, but not so much of a culture shock because I don't think I was so much into the culture and exposed that much in order to feel that shock of it. More so, it was the weather. But as you started growing up and you started going back to Jamaica, because one of my goal was on my 21st birthday, I wanted to go back to Jamaica. I wanted to see what it is, what it's like being of legal age in Jamaica. I went back when I was 17, and I still was okay, just going back to visit family and then coming back. But in 21, I wanted to go back and really get a good feel of what Jamaica was on my own as a young lady who was of mature age. And I think that's when it kind of the shock kind of came about. Well, wait a minute, these things are so different. Just the way we live, um, our exposure. I think that's when the shock kind of came in at the age of like 21.
Well, you became a Brooklynite by that time.
I'm sorry?
I said you were a Brooklynite by that
Oh
time.
yeah, oh yes, oh yes. So for me, it was rediscovering the
Yeah.
country that I was born in, and I love every bit of the rediscovering because the food and just being able to travel on my own to go somewhere where as a little girl you weren't able to do that. It was with your parents, so um, and then you've been a little bit sheltered, being able to go back and be exposed and see so much more. Yeah.
So let me ask another question. While you were in the military, what places did you get the opportunity to visit? What other countries? What you see? What you do? I understand you were in combat, so we can slide right past that one. But we could talk about some of the other things that maybe you've done in the military, places you've seen.
Oh my gosh. You know, when so in the military, I always said if I get to the rank of an E8, which is E7 is your senior enlisted, so you're a senior. And then if I get to the rank of an E8, I can retire.
Hmm.
I felt like, oh, okay, I've done it, I've arrived. But then there was that one rank left for that non-commissioned officer, which was the highest at E9. And I didn't see a reason why I should stop at 8. So I stopped at 9. Continue to make that 9. But that experience as an E9 allowed me to travel into the Middle East. I traveled in the Middle East as a diplomat. I actually had sat at the table of the Prince of Dubai, the Sultan of Oman. I sat at the table. I dined at those tables. I traveled through with a 3-star general, making negotiation for the military. I've traveled in Salalah, in Oman, in Dubai, Bahrain. I was the senior leadership for my unit in Bahrain, and traveling back and forth between Kuwait and Iraq and Afghanistan, definitely, because Afghanistan, that was one of my areas of command. So wherever my areas of command were, I would make it my duty to make sure that I was visiting those places and making sure that my soldiers were okay.
How was Dubai?
Dubai is wonderful. I mean, my first trip to Dubai was culture shock. Of course, we were there, and that was my first time meeting the prince, and we were in a negotiation session. Then from Bahrain, where I sometimes it's more I would call where I live, to Dubai, it wasn't that far of a flight. So then I find myself in Dubai quite often. Traveling to Afghanistan, then it was from Bahrain, and I had to go through Dubai, and then I made my connection in Dubai to Afghanistan. So, loved Dubai. I've had the opportunity to return to Dubai last October, and with my husband, and really the familiarity of the place and everything else just came back, and it was a nice, warm, and fuzzy feeling, of going back.
Were you able to deal with the rules and regulations over there for a woman?
You adapt. I mean, once you get in country, because I entered Dubai, which Bahrain, where is where I
Mhm.
lived. You were given classes to how to respect the culture, what the time frame were, Ramadan, and all those things. So they gave you an expose you to that culture, and to make sure that you were respecting the culture as well as you intend for someone to respect you. I mean, not to break the rules. So once you get that introduction pieces of it, it helps you to appreciate um, their culture. But on some situation, I remember going into Salala, and they told them that you have a leader was coming into Salala, and in the military we go by a last name. And when I got to the the gate in Salala, and I presented myself and my ID, that was a shock to them that, hey, wait a minute, you're talking about a leadership and your leader is coming in and she's a
Mm.
woman. I mean, we need to verify all of this. So, it takes them about, I was there for a meeting. The meeting was going on and I was still stuck outside the gate. I mean, it took them a good 3 hours to be able to clear me to enter. At that time, the meeting, by the time I get in, the meeting was over. So it's just also saying that accepting the leadership as a woman and a woman of high ranking status, that I face those issues. I've gone to the hospital and noticed the separation of male and female, and what the male waiting room looks like in comparison to a female. So those kind of things, I noticed when I was there, and I mean, but it's their customs, and so as a visitor to that country, all I have to do is see it and accept it and operate accordingly.
Well, I'm sure it made you feel good to get back to America.
Yes, to prevent any kind of diplomatic incident, you just accept it and go
Right, you get
forward.
back here, we have to deal with other issues. The land of the free. Yeah.
Right.
But we manage and we move on here. But I'm sure that helps you with all that strength. That this is probably why you're such a strong person. You're able to do the things that you're trying to do with the museum and with the family and trying to keep your culture going. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yes, and I take my training in the military, my exposure. I contribute all of that, and to the kind of person that I am, the strength of the person I am, and I gave my training from the military a lot of credit. The leadership styles, being able to accept certain things that I have to face, certain things that come my way. Um, it was, I think that the training in the military got me ready for all of that. Not to also um, put on the sideline that my culture, the way I was brought up, also play a real important piece of it. And it's because of those pieces from my culture and the way I was raised that was able to help me to be able to sustain and to thrive in the military. And that plus the military training also helped me to thrive in the society that we live in right now, and to be able to accept all of that and to be
That's
resilient.
outstanding. So, if a person, a young lady, Now, I'm just going to say a young person, if they decided that they wanted to go in the military, what would you tell them best about the military? Maybe some words of encouragement as to why they should want to join the military.
First of all, I would want to know why they wanted to enter the military. And if when they tell me why they want to enter the military, and if someone, I would also say if someone is unsure of what they want to do in life and they're stuck at a crossroad and they're, that would not be a bad place for them to be in a bad place for them to be. But I would encourage them how they should go about as they go through the service and they go through their training, what to take away from it and what to make sure. I will tell everyone that enters the military, make sure you keep a copy of all your records. Because when your records go lost and they can't find it, you must be able to back yourself up. You are the only person that can truly tell your story. Someone will be able to tell a story and they'll cut it off and they'll have a piece of it, but you can tell your story. So you need to maintain everything that you have to be able to share your story. I will encourage them, if you're going in because of whatever reason, or you're looking at it as a career, how you should go about doing it. Make sure you have that military education as well as the civilian education. That is what is going to help you to get to the next level that you want to be at. And that is what's going to help you to the point when you get ready to retire. You can retire and say, hey, listen, my service, I retired, and my service to country and to yourself has helped you to be able to live a fulfilling life moving forward.
Well, like I said, there are soldiers out there that unfortunately they didn't live. They're not living the type of lives that you and I are living in. That they're going through a lot of different type of tragedies. So, what can we do to maybe help some of them out? I know that you're into mental health and you try to help feed the homeless. But what else? Are there any other things that we can do to help out our veterans?
I would always say, we have, like, right now we work in on a few, unfortunately they enter the military and they've made some decisions that affect them. They get receive like a dishonorable discharge, or they're not, we'll say, hey, come and see us, because what we want to do, we want to try to help you to see how we can change that negative stigma some people are going through, that it's on their record. We'll help you to see if we can change that, modify that dishonorable discharge to that less than honorable, or to make, change it. So I would say, reach out to us. Let's see what we can do to help you. For some soldiers who have served and not realizing that they had benefits that are coming to them, come see us. I mean, even soldiers who have served, not realizing that they still have, if they served during OEF time frame and Operation New Dawn, have that GI Bill pieces of it. If they are also if they also have benefits. Some people don't realize that they still have benefits that they can pass on to their children.
Hmm.
So I'll say, come on in. Let's take a look at your record and see how we can help you. But if you do have that blemish on your record, come see us. Let's see how we can change that dishonorable discharge and make it into something else.
So again, I'm going to ask you again your information. Where can we reach you? Now, everybody doesn't. They're not so savvy with a computer, and some people, they may just have to use their phone. So, is there also a number in which someone
Yes.
can call you and reach you, along with your online information, please?
Okay, so our museum number and our telephone number is 570-534-8377. And I will say, if you get a ride, we're located at 29 Sterling Road, Mount Pocono, zip code 18344. And we're open, our doors are open on Wednesday through Saturday from 12 until 5 p.m. If you um during that time frame, we will call you back. If you can't make it between Wednesday and Saturday, we'll available to accommodate you the time that you can. If someone have my personal cell phone, I'll say, if you can't reach us at the mute, I'll answer your call. And if I don't answer, leave me a message. Even though most of the time my voice mailbox is full, but keep trying, and will get back to
Did
you.
you give
We'll
us
try to
your?
help you.
Did you give that number to us?
My personal number is 570-269-7669. Especially if there's a veteran in need or a veteran is in a place where they need to talk and it's 2 a.m. in the morning and it's 3 or it's 6 a.m. or it's midnight, do not hesitate to call me. Just call me and say, hey, I need help. Where do I go? What can I do? You call me. I will come out. My husband will get in that car and he'll drive me wherever I need to go to be able to
Mhm.
make sure that I'm there for that veteran and that family member.
Mm. Wow. Uh, I did have one more question I wanted to ask you. Are you affiliated with any other programs or like the what do they call it? The Valor, the different type of organizations, the
Um,
veterans organizations?
I'm a member of the VFW Veterans of Foreign War. I'm a member of the American Legion. Valor, they actually reach out to me. I am hoping to set up a tour, and I have not gone to their facility, but they're doing some great things in the community in regards to veterans and providing counseling for veterans and also shelter for veterans that are in need. So, that's another organization that's out there that's providing services for veterans.
I
I'm
remember
also
that
a
man's
member
last
of the
name.
NCNW
Mhm.
in Strasbourg, and yeah, I'm also a member of Action Together NEPA. So yeah, a lot of organization.
You guys reach out and you work together with these organizations?
I do reach out to read. That's one of the reasons why we're on our way back from the U.S. Capitol today, is
Hmm.
because someone from another organization reached out, wanted veterans, and to hear the story of veterans, we were able to go down to the U.S. Capitol today. I had a veteran that was with us that we have worked with in our the museum. She was able to share her story with Akeem Jeffries, and just things that affect veterans, and how our benefits, and making sure that we secure some of those things for our veterans. So yes, we go wherever we need to go. I go wherever I need to go. If someone calls and say I have an artifact that I think will fit into your museum, we go there. If someone called and said we need your help, we go. If someone say, hey, come down to Washington and tell us your story, we go. And that's just the way that I operate, and it's the same way I operate while serving in the military. If my soldiers need me, I'm going to be there.
Outstanding. Okay, we're going to say thank you, thank you, thank you so much for coming on to the show and being a friend of the radio station. And I want to say personally, thank you for your services and the service that you provide to veterans and the community.
And I will say to you, it was my absolute pleasure to serve. And thank you for having me on.
Okay, my man, going to say peace, and
Yep.
we're out.
All righty. Thank you. Oop.